O să-l ascultăm pe domnul Kirchhoff.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we heard today that Romania's economy is on an upswing. After troublesome years during the world financial crisis, Romania recently successfully placed a bond totaling 1.5 billion euros. The economy is expected to grow by about 1.8 or 2%, and according to forecasts, it will continue to grow by 2 to 4% in the course of the next 3 years. There is also a positive development regarding exports and foreign direct investments. The fact that Romania's national debt is decreasing confirms this development. The same applies to the trade relations between Germany and Romania. Last year, we already celebrated the 20th anniversary of the German-Romanian Friendship Treaty. The Romanian society has also developed a great deal of interest in Germany. On the one hand, Romania has exemplary German language education system, and on the other hand, there are about 38,000 Romanian students enrolled in German universities. Economic ties between Germany and Romania are also close. There are about 18 or 19,000 Romanian companies with German participation in the subscribed capital. Germany is trade partner number 1 and number 3 with respect to foreign direct investment. The trade volume between Germany and Romania in 2013 will reach about 18 billion euros. Nevertheless, the improvement of Romania's image in Germany and the European Union, especially for foreign investors, remains an important issue. In Germany, negative reports on Romania characterize its image. These reports range from so-called poverty migration, which poses a threat to some German municipalities, to various political disputes which occurred during the last 2 years. For example, the severe crisis after the government announced its austerity program in 2011. Here, objective education of the public is required and needs to be strengthened. This is also one of my main tasks as a honorary consul of Romania for the 5 federal states in northern Germany, to try to paint another picture than the picture that the media loves to paint about Romania. A few months ago, I met a member of the Romanian government at this year's trade fair Hannover Messe, one of the most important industrial trade fairs in the world. In the course of this meeting, we discussed what politics could do in order to facilitate the development of the so-called Mittelstand, small and mid-sized companies. The Mittelstand in Germany, for example, is one of the main factors for Germany's economic success, maybe the main factor. It is not the large multinational companies, but the small and medium-sized enterprises that pay the largest share of taxes and create most of the job and have the strongest growth. In 2012, for example, the 4.1 million medium-sized enterprises made up 80% of the taxes that were paid in Germany. Therefore, it's crucial to establish conditions that facilitate the development of these small and medium-sized companies. The implementation and development of an efficient and liquid capital market is one of the most important criteria to facilitate this development. The ongoing banking crisis and the fact that companies find it harder and harder to get loans from banks makes this even clearer. Today in the United States, companies raise up to 80% of their capital on the stock market, whereas the banks provide only 20% of it. In Germany, it is almost the opposite. 25% are raised on the stock market and 75% come from the banks. This causes liquidity problems for a wide range of businesses, especially small and medium-sized companies. It might be interesting to mention that this relation is also the case in another subject. In Germany, about 70% of the young people that do the high school degree wish to get a job in a state-owned company or in the administration because this is safe and you get your pension and so on and so on. While 80% of those students in the United States want to become entrepreneurs. Guess which country will be more innovative and have a better growth perspective in the future? But this is another challenge. Today, companies in Spain and Italy, even if their performance is good, already face the problem of financing. In Italy, small and medium-sized companies even get 90% of their financing from the banks, and the banks in these countries are not able to provide needed financing. I argued in Hanover in this meeting that within this process, the stock exchange plays a key role. On the stock market, the supply and demand for capital is brought together. Furthermore, it is a marketplace that provides servers and investors with the opportunity to participate in the development of a company. The development of a healthy Mittelstand, small and mid-cap industry, will hardly be of success without a strong and liquid capital market. The success story of the stock exchange Warsaw and the Polish economy, it was just mentioned, is probably the best example for this. It is one of the fastest growing stock markets in the world. Just to mention a few facts, it is one of the biggest stock markets in Eastern Europe and overtook Vienna Stock Exchange already in 2004 in terms of stock market capitalization. In 2004, Warsaw Stock Exchange was number 2 in Europe behind London Stock Exchange in terms of the number of conducted IPOs. And in 2013, the first Chinese company listed in Warsaw. Another success story is that of Deutsche Börse. My company has been listing partner of Deutsche Börse for more than 15 years. We are also listing partner, for example, of Borsa Istanbul. About 2 years ago, my company supported Deutsche Börse in the development and implementation of strategies to convince small and mid-cap companies to go public, and also foreign companies to go public in Frankfurt. Today, there are, for example, 15 Chinese companies listed in the highest segment of the stock exchange, the prime standard. 11 of them are my clients, and there are many in the pipeline waiting for the listing. In the last few years, I have personally consulted 61 companies in the process of their initial public offering. Amongst these were privatization of the harbor of Hamburg, for example, which generated 1.2 billion euros, money that was urgently required. I don't want to think about the situation in Hamburg without these 1.2 billion. There were companies which belonged to private equity firms that realized their exit via an initial public offering and generated between 500 million or 1.4 billion euros. However, the majority of enterprises I brought public were small and medium-sized companies, often family businesses. Many of them told me afterwards that going public was the most important step following the startup. In the end, it helped to professionalize the business and made it stronger in its respective market. So far, nobody has regretted this step, or I didn't hear it. And some of the companies we supported are even now international market leaders. But as we heard before, the capital market needs investors who require conditions that create confidence and trust. Trust is the most important word in this subject. And how can politics create these circumstances? First of all, it is important to establish stringent requirements with respect to corporate governance and their level of transparencies. Chinese companies, for example, that are listed in Germany, have difficulties in meeting these requirements. I don't know if you know that every Chinese company has 3 different balance sheets. One is for the tax authority, one is for the investors, and one is for the wife. So it's sometimes not easy to convince them that they have to change their culture if they want to be listed in a Western capital market. Correspondingly, these Chinese companies are penalized by the investors and achieve now multiples between 1 and 2, although the business often performs fantastic. I was chairman of one of these Chinese companies for 1.5 years. It was a kind of a small Nike with 4,000 shops and 300 million turnover, sport shoes and so on. And I can tell you it was a hard work to create a kind of culture that fits the needs of the investors in this time. And at the end I gave up because it was too hard. But on the other hand, we should not give up, and we should also think about attracting the market for foreign companies. For example, the Turkish capital market is not a very liquid market. Therefore, many of my clients in Turkey think about going public in other countries or issue a bond in Frankfurt, for example. But there are also strong connections between Romania and Istanbul. So there are many, many opportunities. Another important condition for a liquid and interesting capital market, from my point of view, is the tax incentive that an investment in shares should provide. In Germany, we have made many positive experiences with tax exemptions on shares under the condition that the investor did hold the shares for a certain time. Employees usually hold their shares a lot longer than financial investors and therefore are perfect principal shareholders. I would like Romania to support employee shares better than we do it in Germany. In Germany, employee shares which they obtain free or at a reduced price are considered a monetary advantage and therefore have to be taxed in full when exceeding the allowance of 360 euros only. This prevents the employee participation from becoming a sound pillar of private savings for the future. Other countries have progressed further in this respect. For example, in Austria, the allowance is 1,500 euros, whereas in the United Kingdom, the allowance is as high as 3,500 euros. However, before companies can go public or place bonds, they need to be set up. Regarding the condition for startups, there are great variations in Europe too. While there are hardly any incentives for startups, in Germany, there is a strong growing startup scene in Paris that has benefited from the fact that the investments in startups are tax deductible. The administration should think about these and other forms of support for startups, as this is the basis for a healthy economic development. Nevertheless, looking at the current economic situation, but also the progress with respect to Romania's integration into the EU, I'm sure that Romania is on its way to healthy and sustainable economic growth. Finally, I wish you all the best on your path to success. Thank you very much.